Alrighty, so as the November international break is about to be over, and yes, I know it is still really stupid, the fact that the MLS playoffs have to take a bit of a pause because of the November international break. I really hope eventually they'll fix that in the near future, but nevertheless, the conference semifinal is about to start this weekend. We're gonna have two games that's gonna be happening on Saturday and two game that's gonna be happening on Sunday as well. And from now on, I'll also be just doing individual preview and review for each of these games leading all the way to MLS Cup, which is actually not far from now because as we're now into the conference semifinal after just a long slog of the first round where it took like 2 weeks for that to complete. We're now finally getting to the point where it's kind of boom, 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 and next thing you know, we're going to be crowning a new champion in MLS in just a couple of weeks, and then we're going to be in the off season and even talk about the expansion draft and talk about how San Diego is going to build their roster heading into their expansion season in 2025. But with that being said, let us actually first talk about the first of four games that I'll do throughout this week. We're gonna first talk about New York City versus New York Redbulls. So yeah, I don't think anybody was expecting that we were gonna get a New York Derby in the playoffs, especially with the two New York team pretty low seeded heading into this playoffs. But if there's one thing we know about the Eastern Conference after the first round, it feels like a complete nuke has just dropped on the Eastern Conference side of the bracket. I mean, teams that we were expecting to go deep in the playoffs didn't even make it to the first round, and that includes Don Gabber and Apple TV CO favorite team as well. I'm pretty sure they're still crying about this to this day, and how, as I said, the ratings and also the viewership, I'm pretty sure it's gonna drop to a point where I'm pretty sure they're praying that the next best thing is that they'll see El Trafico that could happen in the Western Conference Final, and we'll talk about more of that once we get to the preview of about the Western Conference game that is in the conference semifinal. But yeah, coming into this game will start at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. All-time meeting in this Hudson River Derby, which is the first one ever in the playoffs. The Red Bull still has the all-time meeting, 15-4-10, but as I mentioned before, it has gone more even to a point where NYCFC has started to have the better of the Hudson River Derby. I remember in the early days of the Hudson River Derby, it usually be the Red Bulls, the one that dominate the Hudson River Derby. They even had that infamous red wedding game that we saw at Yankee Stadium on in the beginning of this rivalry. And then recently we also saw what you could call the blue wedding, or maybe the blue divorce, as some NYCFC fans have mentioned after that 5-1 thrashing that they hand the Red Bulls, and giving the Red Bulls a little taste of their own medicine in terms of getting absolutely blown out in this rivalry. But really, besides those two games, it's been very close, and I expect this should be one of those games where it's going to be very, very close. And if you're expecting there's going to be a lot of action and stuff like that, yeah, I don't think the Hudson River Derby is one of those games that you might expect that. But that being said, in the first round, NYCFC was able to beat Cincinnati in the best of three series. Had to go three games, and they actually become the first team to lose their first game in the best of three series and still end up winning into the next round. Coming into that game, pretty much every team that have won the first game went on to move on into the playoffs. That all changed in this one after NYCFC did lose 1-0 in the game against Cincinnati in the first round, but they did win 3-1 against Cincinnati. And then in the PK shootout, that just seems like no one wants to win because both of these teams would keep missing penalty kick late in the round. NYCFC eventually outlast Cincinnati and move on into the next round. And I also wrote last play because, as I'll talk about in these conference semifinal, the rust is definitely going to be there, and there's going to be some teams that may get a little bit of advantage because, they play more recently compared to other team. And, for NYCFC, they may get the advantage because they last play a little sooner than compared to the Red Bulls, where, the Red Bulls, they last play on November 3rd, whereas NYCFC last play on November 9th. Meanwhile, for the Red Bulls, they did win 1-0 on the road against Columbus. And again, if you thought that NYCFC has the big upset against Cincinnati, the Red Bulls, they also pull off an absolute stunner. And if it wasn't for Atlanta just pull off an all-time stunner against Inter Miami, this would be right up there in terms of one of the biggest upset we have ever seen in MLS history. I mean, coming into this game, you have a Crew team that is a defending MLS Cup champion, a team that everybody would thought that they're on a collision course with Inter Miami for that conference final and who's going to be representing the East this year. And yet, the Red Bulls, a history of choking in the That's So Metro moment, it didn't really happen. Well, it kind of did happen in the second game, but then they kind of did a not That's So Metro moment in the PK shootout. But yeah, the first game, they shocked Columbus with 1-0 win, and really that was a game where they should have won more than 1-0. I mean, they were by far the better team. They had a lot of chances. They were doing their typical Red Bulls thing, not finishing, and time after time this season they were being punished because of that. They weren't. Fortunately, in game one, and then in game number two, again, they kind of do a That's So Metro moment, giving up a late goal against Columbus. Looks like things were gonna fall apart, but yet somehow, in some way, in a not so That's So Metro moment, they won a PK shootout. Something that the New York Red Bulls have not been able to do it for a while now, and yeah, just completely against what we thought was going to happen. And yeah, just like that, the defending MLS Cup champion is out after the first round. And as mentioned, they last played in November 3rd. It's been a while since they last played an MLS game. Now, looking at the last five head-to-head matchups, so the last time both of these teams met against each other, yeah, that was what you call the blue divorce game. NYCFC absolutely thrashed the Red Bulls in that one on the road. Even though, I mean, do you count that as a road game? I mean, I guess because they're playing to get in their rival stadium, but it was kind of odd the fact that after that 5-1 thrashing that NYCFC gave the Red Bulls, it feels like they kind of almost owned the building, because the very next game after that they were playing at Red Bull Arena again, but this time designated as the home team. But before that, it was NYCFC winning 2-1 against the Red Bulls. Then it was a 0-0 draw between both of these teams. Then the Red Bulls did win 1-0 against NYCFC, and NYCFC winning 2-0 against the Red Bulls. One other meeting that I did mention is that the Red Bulls also won 1-0 against NYCFC in the Leeds Cup. But all these meetings, of course, does not include other competitions. So again, it's been pretty even. NYCFC has the slight edge in terms of that. Top goal scorer for NYCFC, it's Alonso Martinez being the top goal scorer with 17 goals, followed by Santi Rodriguez with 13 goals. And really, they're the kind of the two-headed monster for this NYCFC side. They're the one that has really driven the most goal for this team, because then you got a huge drop off after that. You got Hannes Wolf with 5 goals, Munsa Bakra with 4 goals, and Augustino Ojeda finished with 3 goals to round up the top five. For the Red Bulls, Lewis Morgan leads the team with 13 goals, followed by Emil Frostberg with 10 goals. Elias Manuel surprisingly have 8 goals this season. And I say surprisingly mainly because, he at times has been snake bitten this season. And imagine if he would have put away more of the chances. He could have easily been the top goal scorer for this Red Bulls team. Then you got Cameron Harper with 5 goals, and then Dante Vancier, another guy that just feels like he's completely snake bitten at times. Somehow still able to end up in the top five with 5 goals. Top assist leader, you got Tavon Gray, actually leads the team with 7 assists, and that's a big surprise because you would expect Santi Rodriguez to be the one that is the guy that is carrying the low. But Tavon Gray started becoming one of the best crosser, and one of the rare time when we see a fullback does very well going forward and creating the assists. So he has 7 assists, followed by Santi Rodriguez with 6 assists. Hannes Wolf also with 6 assists. Maxi Morales with 5 assists. And Malachi Jones, who unfortunately is injured and he's out for the season, rounds up the top five with 3 assists. For the Red Bulls, again, kind of a surprising factor. You would have not guessed that Dante Vanzier would lead this team in assists. And there's times where I said, well, if Dante Vanzier came put the ball into the back net and he's snake in front of goal, might as well be the setup man. So he has 9 assists, while by Lewis Morgan with 7 assists. Then you got Wiki Carmona with 3 assists. Emil Frostberg only 3 assists to his name. Keep in mind he was injured for a majority of the season, so maybe that kind of explains the fact that that's a very low assist total for a guy that's supposed to be the playmaker for this team. And then you also have Dylan Nealis with 3 assists, which is kind of weird because he's supposed to be a defender, and he still ends up in the top 5 assist leader as well. Now, obviously, the three big story point coming into this Hudson River Derby. Obviously, this is the first ever meeting between both of these teams, but this game is going to be played at Citi Field. This game is going to be playing at the home of NYCFC, which I'm pretty sure NYCFC was not expecting the fact that they were going to get another home game after game two of the first round of the playoffs. Because again, anytime when you're at 6 seed like that, when you're that low in this seed, you usually do not get a home game in the conference semifinal and beyond. But because of how crazy this playoff has been, and there's been just upset allure that has happened in the Eastern Conference, they get to play another home game. It's going to be at Citi Field, so that could actually favor NYCFC. By the way, coming into this Hudson River Derby, there was a lot of question which venue they were going to use. I'm kind of surprised they're not using Yankee Stadium, though at the same time, I'm also not surprised that they're not using Yankee Stadium because I also just remember, didn't they have like a college football game this weekend? Yeah, I think they have a Notre Dame scheduled this weekend, so that's why they couldn't play at Yankee Stadium. It would be funny if they actually decided to have Red Bull Arena as the home venue because that would be just that's kind of the ultimate sicko kind of move for NYCFC to make, that they're gonna play their home game and act this as the home venue in their rival stadium, even though their rival is the away team. Again, that would have just been an absolute clusterfuck, and I think in many ways, them playing at City Field would kind of make sense, and also not to mention the soccer stadium that they're building, which is now scheduled to be open in 2027, is also near the area where City Field is. So at least it's going to be at a baseball stadium, which that seems like that's kind of what favor NYCFC. They're a very good team when they're playing at home, especially with the dimension kind of be favored of them. But I also thought that coming into this game, and I know this sounds like a stupid question, but I think there is a big question of which team actually have more pressure to win this inaugural Hudson River Derby in the playoffs. And I say it's a stupid question because I mean, I'm pretty sure the pressure is there for both of these teams because this is a Hudson River Derby, and this is pretty much the ultimate rivalry game, the biggest rivalry game that we have seen so far between these two teams in the playoffs. And if you get the win, you not only get the bragging rights to say New York is either red or blue, but you also move on into the next round. So there's definitely a lot of pressure for both of these teams. I mean, I would say maybe NYCFC have a little more pressure considering they are the home team. They're expected to be the favorites to move on, and not to mention, for the Redbulls, I mean, this is a team that nobody expected them to do anything in the playoffs, and that so metro moment it was bound to happen, and yep, it hasn't happened, and we'll see whether or not if that will be the case in the conference semifinal as well. But then, like I said, the third big story point coming out of this game, if you expect this game is going to be like El Tráfico, it's going to be high scoring and so forth. Yeah, I'm sorry to say that that's not going to be the case. I think this is going to be a very, very tight game. I expect this is a game where, with NYCFC, they're the team that likes to control the possession. The Red Bulls obviously like to press teams and also trying to win back possession quick and don't like the ball. I expect this is going to be your typical game where the home team absolutely dominate possession. The Red Bulls will definitely take that, and because of that, I still think that it might be very tight and contested kind of game because if there's one thing I will say about NYCFC is that their attack, it's been very hit and miss heading into the playoffs. Even in the Cincinnati series, yes, I know they scored 3 goals in game number 2, but their attack was very very sloppy at time, and against a Red Bulls team that has been very good on the defensive front. They're another team that also struggled to score goals. Again, I would not be surprised if this one will be a 1 goal kind of game, or it might be a game where it could even go to a PK shootout. And when that happens, yeah, I mean, when it goes to a PK shootout, I would say the edge might go to NYCFC, judging by the fact that the Red Bulls still doesn't have a really good playoff uh PK shootout record, even with the last win that they had. But then again, this should be a very interesting series. Again, nobody thought that we were going to see a Hudson River Derby. Everybody thought that we were going to see a Hell is Real Derby. Heck, even myself thought that we are going to see a Hudson River, or not Hudson River, but the Hell is Real Derby in the Eastern Conference semifinal. But here we are. We're going to see which New York team is going to be the one that will either paint New York either red or blue coming out of this one, and which New York team will be representing the Eastern Conference final in just a week time. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of this preview of this game. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game and your prediction. Which New York team is going to win this Hudson River Derby, this inaugural playoff Hudson River Derby? Because from now on, it's single elimination. It's do or die for every single game. So yeah, the stake is definitely going to be up compared to what we see in these best of 3 series that we saw in the first round. But as I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.